Hello again, fellow audiophiles. I am Wave Theory, and today I have a review of a true wireless IEM for you, and that is SANWEAR True Wireless IEMs. These are currently $279 on SANWEAR's website. I will link to that down in the description. It is not an affiliate link. It is just strictly there for your convenience. I interacted with, via both email and telephone, the founder and lead engineer on this product, who happens to be the lead engineer and self-described golden ear behind Beats by Dre. Okay, so someone who has like over 20 years of headphone building experience, headphone and IEM building experience, put his love of craft into this here. And he reached out to me several weeks ago, asked if I wanted to check out his new product line here in these wireless IEMs. And I said, sure. They looked quite interesting on the website, and I was keen to try them. And of course, there are just some use cases that true wireless IEMs fit into better than any other audio product. So even though I primarily review what would normally be considered just high-end or high-quality audiophile gear, which usually involves wires, okay, it is worth still keeping tabs on where the wireless industry is and whether they are really breaking in to the audiophile space or not. So, does the SANWEAR do just that? Find out right after shameless self-promotion.
Hello. I'm one of the reasons that Wave Theory can't spend all of his money on audio gear. He wants you to know that your support is vital for keeping the channel running. So if you enjoy Wave Theory's bussin' review riz and no-cap review style and want to encourage him to stay in the basement so I don't have to listen to his dad jokes as much, like the video and subscribe to the channel. You can also send him a donation on PayPal or sign up for the Patreon. Links are in the description. Now on to the review.
All right, so as I was saying it at the top of the video there before shameless self-promotion, like the lead designer of this also was the lead designer of Beats by Dre, and I did talk to him quite extensively on a phone call and then via email, and I have to say that he did a great job of not telling me what to think about this product. He told me what his design goals were and those sorts of things, but was very hands-off when it came to sound impressions and use impressions. So all of those thoughts that you're about to get are mine and mine alone. And I gotta tell you, I did enjoy these quite a bit. Right? They sound pretty good. They've got some user quirks in them, but I think for the most part they are fairly easy to use. Their comfort is pretty decent and so forth. I think it's an overall pretty solid product, especially when it's, $280. I think it's got some significant value there. So let's dive in. What is the SANWEAR? Well, as I said, it is a $279 true wireless IEM part, and it comes in multiple colors. Okay, this color here that most of us would call black, they call on their website Nomad. Okay, but there are several other colors, including what is in this box right here, and this is like a mustard color that they call Mecca. Okay, on their website there too. So there are 5 different color options for this product, and if I understand the website correctly, there are only 500 units of each color made. So if you want one of these, you need to get on it. Okay, since we're here in this view, let's go ahead and I'll show you the packaging and all that, but just a couple more words here about what this is. Single dynamic driver on each side, and the Bluetooth codec is not a fancy codec, it's A2DP. Okay, in there, the latest version of that. And the reason behind that, when I was talking with the owner and designer here, is that he's first of all concerned about the transducer. Getting the transducer right in there, the thing that actually moves and vibrates to create the sound, let's get that right. And then he found that the original Bluetooth codec of A2DP just worked the best. It was the most stable and it matched his product the best. He trusted it the most. And in his view, other codecs like aptX or SBC or LDAC and so forth, just didn't provide the audio quality advancement big enough to get over the usability of this thing. And I see where he's coming from there, because these do sound pretty darn good even on that out-of-date codec. Okay, I mean, they sound really good. So I don't think the codec holds it back much. Okay, more thoughts on that coming up in the sound. But I did find the connection here to be really stable and reliable, even in very noisy environments. And what I mean by noisy here is in areas where there's a lot of electromagnetic interference, which is, you know, our homes these days, but even out in public. Like, I would take this to the gym and everything, where there are Wi-Fi signals and cell signals, and everyone's connecting to Wi-Fi, and everyone's using wireless IEMs or, you know, wireless headphones or whatever. And maybe one time in like 8 weeks of use did I notice that there was a connection issue, and that could very well have been because I had just really drawn down the battery at that point, because I was also looking to see how long the battery life would go. Okay, so with that, let's get into the features and the build and all of that. Let's start with the packaging. It comes in this multicolored box that looks like this, and it opens like so with these wing flaps outward and creates this nice triangle shape. And then the unit itself fits right in there. And again, this color right here is the mecha color, right, and all of that. And then we see that we have the stock tips here in 3 different size options. There's also tips in there, so it ships with 4 tip size options there. And then these right here are called the FreeBit Sport Hooks, and they fit over the nozzle between the ear tip and your ear. Let me show you on this unit. So these things just pull right out. They are magnetically connected to the charging box here. And there you go. There's the FreeBit Sport Hook right there. It fits right around there. And then the ear tip is here. Okay, and these are different shapes and all that, and these are just meant to help it stay in your ear better if you do a lot of high-level activity and all that. You do not have to use them, but you've got 3 different sizes and, of course, a bunch of different ear tips to play with to get it to the right fit and so forth in there. All right, well, let's finish with the packaging here. Underneath this thing here, so this lifts out. Okay, like so. You get all of the literature, okay? You get a carrying pouch that inside it has, okay, a lanyard, and there's something else in here. I believe it's probably just the charging cable. It is indeed, okay? It is the charging cable, little carrying pouch right there too. So those are the accessories that come with each unit there. Am I going to be able to get this back together? Maybe, but I can pause it to do that and not waste video time. All right, back to it. So you see I got sent 2 units. I'm not exactly sure why, but there are 2 different colors there, and I ended up using the black just because, Nomad, just because I liked the color better and so forth. Now, what's going to happen to my phone when I pull these out of here? So anyway, we see USB charging port here on the battery pack unit, and you see that there are lights on these things that, you know, as you bump and move this around, things light up. Okay, you can control that in an app. There is a controller app for this product where you can adjust the light settings if you want, okay? All right, pull that out of there. I did not use any of the stock tips. I forget which tips these are, Divinus or something like that. I will put a link down in the description where I got those. But they work best for me, and I have small-ish ear canals, so I found that configuration to work the best for me. And then you get lights down inside there. Okay, when you pull those out and put them in there and then put them back in, it lights up and so forth. My son, who does the shameless self-promotion there that you saw earlier, he saw me using these and he called these my Star Trek IEMs. He used the term IEM. I have trained him well instead of earbud. Okay, so you can all pat me on the back for that in the comments. Anyway, I see more of a Transformers aesthetic myself, actually. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. And of course, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. They look all right. I wasn't a fan of this color in here so much, but I mean, if you like it, go for it. It's there. Okay, but I've been using these this set here a lot. Okay, there are other things, like let's talk about that app for a moment. So like not only do you get lighting controls on there, you can adjust the different touch sensitive buttons. So the back of each ear module here is touch sensitive, and you could do different gestures, taps and swipes and long presses and all of that kind of stuff to get it to do different functions when it's connected to your phone. And you can remap all of that as you like in the app. Okay, on there. There is also a 3-band graphic equalizer in the app if you want to tailor the sound a little bit. And there is another EQ mode for like movie watching and so forth if you are one who likes to use headphones or IEMs to watch movies or TV shows or things of that nature. That's in there as well. All right. The comfort of this unit. I found it to be pretty good. Now, I really didn't use these ear hooks much. I did not find them to be particularly helpful for my ears. There are only 3 sizes. I found that I was kind of in between a couple of sizes, I think, where one was too small to really help and another was too big that it was just a little bit painful and would like actually push it out of my ear more. And so that's why I used the aftermarket tips that came on here, which again, I will link to down in the description. But with those aftermarket tips and all that, I found it to be reasonably comfortable and stay in place relatively well. Now, one exception to that is like if I was doing a heavy lift at the gym and I would make some weird facial expression, at least weirder than my face normally looks, and like that could actually like move these out of place a little bit just because like it's, you know, changing the shape of my ear opening and all of that, and that does move things around. So sometimes I would still have to readjust it there. But if I was just walking around and not doing big heavy lifting grimace kinds of things, they stayed in place really well and I didn't have any issue there. Now, if you got to push them back into your ear, I found this to be the case here. If you got to push them back into your ear, you got to grab them on the outside like this and push them back, because if you come in like this and you push right there, you're going to pause your music, okay, or you know, something like that, and then figure out where it was. And so putting these in your ear can be a little bit of an adventure. One usage quirk that I have some feedback on this that I don't think is a deal breaker, but just something that an update could probably take care of, is there probably needs to be like a 5 to 10 second pause or something between disconnecting these from this battery pack and then the touch sensitive buttons coming to life, because I have found that basically as soon as you pulled them out and they connected, they were already like opening up the Spotify or the Rune Arc app or something and either doing play pause on a track or advancing the track or something like that. Like just the touch sensitive controls came alive too quickly there. And so I found that I'd have to stick them in my ear, get them comfortable, and then open up my music player app and get it to the music that I wanted it to play and then play it from there. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind and all of that. And then also be careful when you're taking them out, because the same thing can happen. If you touch them wrong, it'll advance your track. So if like you're in the middle of a podcast or something like that, just taking them out and putting them in can like accidentally skip it to the next episode of your podcast that you're listening to or some such thing. So just be aware of that. You do get used to that. At least I found that I got used to that and found some workarounds that work for you and like didn't, you know, allow that to not happen as much, but it's just something to be aware of that is there. Again, I didn't find it a deal breaker, but that's up to you, how you interpret the severity of that. Okay. But like the touch sensitive controls do work well when you want them to. I do wish they were just a touch faster. But, I mean, that's just the 21st century complaint, I guess. They are plenty quick. There's just sometimes I wish the play pause would be just a little bit more reactive and do it just a little bit quicker. Okay, minor complaint on that. Okay, but yeah, then I guess the only other like ergonomics and usage thing that I really need to talk about is the battery life. The website says it will last for 33 hours of this charging pack before you have to charge it again. I don't know if I ever got it to a full 33 hours, but it can go. So I go to the gym where I use these like about twice a week because I'm swimming the other days and these are not waterproof. Okay, but anyway, on my lifting days, I go there and they're used for, you know, an hour to an hour and a half per session twice a week, and that was my primary time using these. And I would find that even though like not powering off, just taking them out of my ears, putting them in their charging box, and then sticking them in my gym bag, that I would need to charge them up about every 4th week. Okay, right around in there, which isn't too bad. All right, I guess that also reminds me of one more point, and this is not just the fault of the SANWEAR here. Like, this is a thing with some of these like more audiophile grade TWS systems here, and that is this charging pack here is just a little bit bulky. It's like when I go to the gym and put the ear modules in my ear, it's like, okay, now what do I do with this thing? It's just a little bit too bulky to comfortably fit in a pocket. Okay, and it just ended up being another thing that I would end up carrying around. And a couple of times I would like leave it at whatever station I was lifting at, and then I'd get to the next one. I'd be like, wait, where's the charging pack? And I'd have to go retrace my steps. And I always found it, obviously, because here it is. But that's just in the future, more true wireless IEM makers like flatten these out a little bit if you can. And I realize with the shape of the ear module here, which has to have some amount of size because there's antenna in there and like control and microchip and processors and all of that to do the hand gestures and all that. That there is some size that comes with that has to be accommodated. But like flattening this out so it's a little bit more, I don't know, shaped like one of those flask style DAC amps or something like that, just to make it a little bit more pocket friendly, would be helpful. Okay, and again, that's not just a SANWEAR complaint, because like HiFiMan does that with their Svanar wireless, and that's just one more example. There are others where this case is just a little bit too bulky. Okay, let's transition to sound then. So again, it's true wireless. It's only wireless. So using a Bluetooth there, I was connected to my Samsung Galaxy S22 Plus smartphone, which is doing the filming right now. I used either Spotify on its highest quality setting to listen to music there, or Rune Arc, okay, to do some lossless, at least lossless into the app, and then Bluetooth from there, okay, as my sources there. So, I mean, pretty straightforward on that. Okay, the sound on here is definitely warm and bassy and is designed to be listened to for long periods of time, as long as you are not fatigued by like thick, heavy bass, all right? So it's definitely more of a bass head IEM. All right, the top end is definitely nice and sparkly and present, but might have just a slight bit of roll off on it, which just gives it an overall warmer, bassier signature and presentation. Now, it thumps hard. Like, it has a lot of slam and impact in that bass too. Okay, so it's not just that there's like a bit of elevated presence on the bass, which again, there's a graphic EQ in here. You can back that off some if you want. Okay, but it is very hard-hitting, impactful bass. Again, I think bass heads are going to love this one. Okay, so the bass really is kind of the star of the show there. But the mids and the treble are very well tonally balanced. They are nice and smooth. There is pretty natural and organic relationships between fundamental frequencies and their harmonics. I really didn't have any issues with there. Right, and so it was nice and smooth. Like, there weren't a whole lot of sharp S's or T's or like sibilants or anything like that in the treble. And I thought that the like vocal timbre was reasonably natural and realistic. Like, it didn't come across as shouty or honky or anything like that. Like, it just sounded fairly real in there. So I appreciated that. And the sound itself I found to be very non-fatiguing, but it was very fun and engaging. So bass heads, but then also people who like contemporary pop music, hip hop, EDM, R&B, and even like for a lot of fans of like rock and metal, I think you're really gonna like these in the presentation there in terms of its non-fatiguing nature and the bass heaviness of it in there. Okay, now detail retrieval, like how resolving are the drivers in here themselves, is not really a question I can answer. I think the Bluetooth nature of it does limit the top end of the resolution a little bit, okay? Though it's still pretty good. Like the resolution and detail retrieval of these was enough for me to tell the difference between a lossy Spotify stream and a lossless Rune Arc stream, okay? That came clear. So there's enough detail and resolution to tell the difference there. Still, you're going to hit a ceiling on like texturing and all of that pretty quick, and you're going to hit a ceiling on like the three-dimensionality of the spatial presentation on there too. But I think for what it is, the resolution and the detail retrieval are actually quite good. And this is one thing that I noticed using this is when I first started using the unit, I was like, ugh, man, this is not very resolving, and it just kind of sounds a little bit too smoothed over. And I don't know if it just needed some break-in or if in this case it was just brain burn in for me. But after I described how I used it, after about 3 or 4 sessions to the gym and all of that, it started to wake up and open up a lot. And like I got a little bit more clarity. It sounded like I was getting more detail. And again, this time around could all be in my brain. Or it could just be the fact that you got dynamic drivers in here that needed a little bit of exercise to really loosen up and become what they are. Either way, that was my experience. They got a little bit more resolving after, and call it, 10 to 12 hours of use or so. So I would say use it for at least that before you pass judgment on these. Okay, as just something to be aware of if you're going to buy one. All right, so I thought it sounded pretty good. I mean, I enjoy listening to it. It is very convenient to use, except for just the slight bulkiness of the battery pack and all of that there. I think it's a pretty solid unit. Now, the only other true wireless IEM out there right now that I have listened to that I can compare this to would be the HiFiMan Svanar wireless, which is about $500. So it's in a different price class than this one. And that one's got LDAC and it's got active noise cancellation and all that, where this one just does the standard IEM plug your ear canals kind of thing, kind of isolation in there. All right, and so forth. And I do think that the overall fidelity of the Svanar wireless bests this one. It is a little bit more detailed, a little bit more resolving, a little bit more holographic in its spatial presentation. Again, this is very good in all of those aspects. Okay, but the Svanar wireless is just a little bit better, especially when you use the LDAC codec on that one. The Svanar wireless is not quite as bass heavy as this one. It does have some good thump and rumble to it, but this one has more. The Svanar wireless is also not as rolled off in the top end, so it's a little bit crisper in its sound. Just the presentation comes along as being a little bit crisper, a little bit clearer than this one does. The big thing this has over the Svanar wireless, other than like the bassiness, the presence and the impact of the bass, which this one has more of, but the big difference is the reliability of the wireless connection. I had maybe one time where the connection on this failed me, and it could have been more due to the fact that the battery was getting low than actually losing the connection. Whereas with this Svanar wireless, it is persnickety with its connection in Bluetooth, and it gets worse in the more signal traffic you find yourself in, the more issues it has, where this one again was stable and reliable in a way that the Svanar wireless was not. Okay, and so that's a big notch in its favor here, in that you can actually use it and use it reliably. All right. So, the SANWEAR SanSound IEMs, pretty solid all-around package. They do get my recommendation. There are not a ton of them out there in existence, so if you think you might want one, go out there and grab one, because I think at $279, it is quite a deal for what it is. It sounds great, it's reasonably comfortable, and so forth. It's got a couple of ergonomic quirks to it that you can find workarounds for as you get to use it, and I found them to not get in the way once I figured out what they were doing and how to get around them. Okay, but yeah, check this one out. Pretty solid and decently audiophile grade true wireless IEM system out there. So I am Wave Theory. Thanks for watching my review of the SanSound SANWEAR true wireless IEMs. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, to check out my PayPal and my Patreon. Generally do those things you do to support YouTube channels, and as always, enjoy the music.